Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, listeners. And if you just give me a minute, I'll try and share this video, and the program shall start, inshallah. Okay, man la Sulayman Suwareh, on Facebook Live, and in the program, the Ramadan Activism. Again, maybe 1 minute, right? Share this. Share this video, and the programs can start. Assalamu alaikum. Today is the 16th of April 2021, and it's Friday. The fourth Friday of Ramadan. I would say Ramadan Mubarak. And this is my first program in Ramadan, and I call the program Ramadan Activism. Why program Ramadan Activism? First, waxtaan yoo xam ne ñu ko dee am behind the scenes, and people keep on saying xam naa Ramadan bi dañoo jël a break, and I don't know what we take a break from. Dama xamut what we take a break from. What does Ramadan stop you to do? Su nekkee ne we are true activists, and looy wax óor na la, óolu nga looy wax, óolu nga foo taxaw, gisuma any reason that we stop in Ramadan. And mooy indi waxtaan bi, and waxtaan bi fu ma ko bëgg a tënkee, fu ma ko bëgg a indee mooy just to start this new month of Ramadan on waxtaan boo xam ne nañ ko ubbi in a sense to carry more people up, because of to understand the concerns in them. Because when we say nit ki politician, nit ki activist la, especially the word activists have been abused or have been misunderstood. You bari understanding what activism means, and you bari abuse Nanko for different reasons. And because of now social media, which is accessible, which is very great, kuneka ya imunga amplifies the voice, and kuneka munga ote an activist nga or yange get into activism. But it's very important when you understand activism and you understand it, then just it's quite a natural thing. Law have the more they house in it and more in environment. But again, just as natural things happen, that's how people can take it to hijack it to for a purpose. Motaning is all form of activism, just as religion is. I mean, tey ñu bari dem soo waxee ñu ne soo bëggee am alal dama nekk dama ubbi church dama ubbi mosque. People will tell you tey soo bëggee am xaalis dama nekk politician. As the politician is a bad thing. Danga dem pour am xaalis. These are all valid, I mean, things to say. The same thing about activists. And because of the social media addict, a lot of people come on, express, which is Ken Munur and Koai. But again, doesn't mean that we just have to brush everybody at the Bena Lifinbi. Bena, I mean, Bena Penbi. Activism, after all, people, is about intense campaign. Believe in something, intense campaign about it. Um, Try to get change. Try to get change in what? In politics, change in our social, I mean, environments and so on. That's what activism is. What is bad about that? That is natural. And so you understand, some people pick it up later in life. Some people might come out later in life, but generally, we are an activist one way or the other. Do we really go out there to campaign or to show our activism? No. But within our small ways, we are doing that by using what we practice. Communication is two things: what you say and what you do. And then you have to get inspire change because you get just put your head down and do something, and people see it, and you see somebody else amplify that. He might not or she might not give credit to this Fatumata or Mariama or Ibrahima for having them more to inspire. He might not, never reference it. That inspiration, mom la amta mom mujel ko amplify because people at times need to own something. Then they feel that they need to own something. They need to claim originality. But I mean, technically, there's nothing called original. Dafa des foo ko bugg a jëlee rek. It happens. Um, people come out like that. I mean, a lot of that, dañoo ñëw to a certain time. Understand, in fact, the wholesale options. Fu mu ne nii loolu àddina bi fa lañ toll dañoo sol seen options and to go to university to study. Lan laay study ji damaa dem study ji di pour lan is lucrative and su ma ñëwee I can be an activist mun naa dem liggéey for NGOs mun naa ubbi suma NGO mun naa def li that's what they do. People now will come on social media, whole platform, social media platforms. Okay, lan laay def damaa door di def li because of money. Monetize ko. It's about money. Other people who do it monetize ko because of the sustain. Sustainability is very important. But there's nothing wrong with it and platform the alacha funding because in most cases, if people buy certain things, if I need certain things, some people want to do it very professional. They need equipment. They need to pay for these things and other things. Then some people afford time away from what they do. Now they want to get something compensated. Put that time. I welcome that. But again, you have this other thing. But nañ ñëw to activism. Sulum tënku, sulum taxaw. Education, awareness. First and foremost, an activist lu moo def mooy educate kan boppam. You see, being an activist minute ne borom dafa suti minute ne borom dafa xam lu nekk minute ne borom dafa baax ba jéggi dayo minute nit ki fa perfect nit ki fa xam lépp lu mu miin mooy ne nit ki jóg na pour taxawal lu mu claim ne moom la moom dan kooku mu ngee jàngal by interacting mu ngee jàngal mu ngee interact am na ñuy jàngee si moom but in fact la fa war a jàng il faut pour mu am lu moo jàngee and jàng boobu would come in different ways jàng boobu will come in different ways. You'll be surprised how many people ñoo xam ne seen jàng yëpp du si classroom si out of classroom la because of mënuñoo jàngee classroom am seen nit ñi ñoo xam ne seen jàng yëpp is environment bu ñu nekk they're very good at the whole environment di jàng si environment bi and mun koo jël sol ko seen boppa and mun koo project pour other people jàngee si then the activist si boppam I mean we don't expect ne amut fault we not expect ne water wax dara because of mom si boppam nii la mel but it's good for that activist in fact moo tax criticize an activist ba an activist bi moo tax mu war a accept criticism because boobaa nga shape sa bopp nga get sa bopp better because in activism tam it helps not loo wax rek loo jëf o looy oote ndax nuru nga ko it's very important meaning you are exact that but nañ gis ne yaa ngee move towards and what in many cases we are disappointed since they give certain people on problems or certain problems what are some those people you want to understand ne dañ nekk in a journey dañ am a history dañ nekk in a journey we don't judge them our history by the history pull them down no we judge them by history to empathize to understand them to want to relate to them to want to engage them better to want to support them. That's what learning from history means of someone's history, the whole history jambo. Who benchmark we want is a Canada. It's important to know. Yes, you're gonna find a lot of things contradicting probably at food benchmark to how late. Okay, let's see. And is benchmark getting better from this? Is benchmark giving more? And as time goes on, that's how you build your credibility, consistency, and all the things. But showing you a different out, this guy that changed or this guy or clean more prophetic. These things are very important to understand. What we are all activists one way or the other. Now, are we campaigning the bit of activism that we campaign? But we are doing something more education. What education does more in the awareness, consciousness. And we'll see how important these things are. More in the empathy. More in the empathy. And empathy is very important when you talk of agents of change. Empathy is very important. Senior expect nit ki muna improve bopam, muna improve situations. But education may in the skills. Skills. Any skill board you need to be educated one way or the other. But we all know that professional skills yep, then need a professional body. We will guarantee this person have first, this person is this. But one thing that we don't realize that with all the education we have, one professional body will important or that ban agent moo war a taxaw si yow tax nga nekk kooku mooy ethics mun ngaa nekk the best doctor but the minute amuloo ethics yi rek you are no at that professional body bi la ñaa taxaw mun ngaa nekk the best lawyer and once they keep with those professional ethics dañ laa taxaw mun ngaa nekk the best engineer any professional jàngal loo mun ci jàng te amuloo ethics rek sa jàng amul also moo tax suñ ne jàng dafa yaatu in a sense mooy ne is someone kuy am that consciousness am that empathy and empathy boobu dafa am lu moo def si borom in the humility, in the all the things, and not inta get effective in muna in that environment. And we'll come to the next bit, more environment. The environment we create, conducive environment, you need government, whole government accountable, you get whole government accountable to create that conducive environment. But we are government. Do we create a conducive environment for our families? Do we create a conducive environment for our friends? Do we create a conducive environment for society? Why environment in the physical sense? Why environment in the psychological sense? Why environment in the social sense? It will all come to the same thing that we need that environmental condition. When we talk about the felling of trees or the keeping the environment clean, it's trying to keep that conducive environment for everybody. And another thing about environment, when we talk about environment, we talk about share. It's share space, share resource, share ideas. It's share. What are they highlight the, 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 the digital environment? Share. And that share, understand the philosophy, the psychology of sharing, understand the concepts of share, how important is it to share? And when we senior dear dominant and sharing is caring. And because of what again in that environment, we not only to be conducive, not only to about sharing, it's about sustainability. About sustainability. And sustainability comes in the physical sense of the environment, the psychological sense of environment, social sense of environment is need to be sustainable. How do we expect these resources to last forever? Hence the human existence. Hence the human existence, we expect to benefit from this thing. How do we keep this sustainability? How can this be sustainable? But how can society in fact sustain itself? Back control. We come to back control. Back control in the sense, in fact, at times society needs to even have more children. At times, society needs to limit how society keeps itself. Because in the sense of conduciveness, instead of sharing, sustainability in the sense again, Moine, to live amicably, to sustain a good relationship, your neighborhood and everything else. Society at large as a country, we'll come to that again. Then is the importance of sustain. When we talk about sustainability, that's how important it will be. But another aspect is the creating the greater good. Creating a greater good. What do we do to create that greater good? Why is it important to create a greater good? When we say that we do something, and especially doing something for other people, more we forget that we are not doing for other people, we're doing for ourselves. Because there's a thing called mutual benefit. When we walk towards creating this greater good, it's a mutual benefit. Again, it's for our environment to be sustainable. It's for our environment to be conducive. Again, it's about sharing. But again, all this, the background of it, again, will go back to education, awareness, being conscious, being empathetic. And if we acquire unnecessary important to acquire skills, but skills would be based on we have this ethics. And this ethics would be how to create that environment, a conducive environment where we share, environment where we try to make sure it's sustainable. Physical sense, in the psychological sense, and in the social sense. And in what we try to gain, see the outcome is the greater good. And the greater good, what is it about? It's our mutual interest. If you create all this, where education thrives, where the environment is sustainable, and you creating this greater good for who? For us. It's very important. When you see people behave in a way, but it's not making this environment conducive. They are not sharing. They are not trying to make this environment sustainable. You don't call them educated people. If they were educated, they would not do that. They're just a bunch of criminals that went to colleges and institutions to come out to, to acquire the knowledge that they will use to harm society. You see, psychopaths will come in different ways. They will act in different ways. We have people wearing suits going, representing us as accountants, as engineers, or as politicians, as everything. But they are just bad or worse than those people with mental disorders that would go into to killing, raping, and do all that because of what they do. Create an environment where this thing persists, where these things occur. But when we talk about activism, too, we have to not understand that it's not about chow, right? It's not about calling names. It's about trying to educate ourselves. It's not that we activists are perfect, but we try to get to a level because of our consciousness, our empathy, and the skills we acquire in order to impact. And in the process, we become a better people, as a person, and as an environment that we create becomes a very conducive environment because people will be better off. People will be taken care of. People, there'll be social justice. That means it's a conducive environment. It's an environment that we share. It's an environment that is sustainable because of we created a greater good, the greater good which is mutual. We all benefit. And what that do, it creates stability. You see, stability cannot be. What has been talking the Halat Gambia? People, what they do, and Adam Barrow, or the people and everybody else know how many part of this, the cartel, the economic mafia and everything. What they're doing, they're not working towards that greater good. They are not trying to, they don't see the mutual benefit of sharing and doing things right, creating that environment. And the stability of that country will not be ensured. The peace, the security will not be. Security, security does not even mean the police. No, police cannot just give you security. Society have to create that. Then you need a role to play. Especially the more responsibilities have, that's greater role we have to play. When we secure elected for office, when we are appointed, when we create business, when we do anything, we have social responsibilities. In when we are appointed, when we are elected, we have a mandate. We have a TOR, term of reference, that defines what we should do. But as humans, God knows we have to be as humans. That's why it doesn't matter. If you just acquire that education, that them, you can work in the best structures. What do? You go in there to disrupt the structures, not to make it good, but to make it bad. But I got them. There's laws, there's policies, there's everything in. But why we have problems there in the Gambia? We have laws for anything, all these things going on. We have policies for every other thing that should go right. Why are they not implemented? Because the people don't want to implement them. Then the people are important. These people, if they were educated, they would be conscious, they would have empathy, and they would have made sure they work and practice based on ethical standards. These are things very important when we talk about this activism is about to be part of. It's another sector, let's say. It's a very part of. Everybody can be an activist. Everybody is an activist one way or the other. It's how who takes it as a profession and who professes to it, and what level we are. We don't have to limit ourselves. We don't expect activists not to be engineers. We don't expect activists not to be doctors. We don't expect activists not to be lawyers. We don't. No, we are all these people can be. But we do this to create. We do this, and we can only do this when we are educated. What this education gives us is consciousness, empathy, and skills. And to do what? To create an environment. What environment? A conducive environment where we share to create sustainability. And in order to for what? To have this greater good. What does greater good give us, which is of a mutual benefit? What mutual benefit give us is that we have a stable, peaceful, secured environment, a country. Now, what we are, what new challenge with my change? How do we create this change? If we know that's what we do, how do we create this change? Change can only be created by getting involved. By getting involved. How many people we have educated? How many educated? How many of those educated understand that they need to create a conducive environment, or they need to be in a conducive environment? How many of those educated people know about that environment and know that what creating that environment would do? The outcome, the impact would be, a greater, is to create that greater good. And that greater good is something of mutual interest. But how many of those people are involved? You see, until we get involved, seriously, change will not happen. We can know it all, sit on our armchairs. We can know it all, bury our head in our professions, but we need that bit of activism. May I dare to say, in fact, the definition of activism might be to be active in pursuing something that you believe. Probably that's why it's activism. Probably. It's just a thought that just came to me. We expect accountants to participate, use their education and their skills. How important it is to have an accountant in this struggle. We will need doctors to be activists. How important it is to see a doctor. You see the conspiracy theorists. You know what they do? You see, when they want to come on and claim something, they go and wear a white coat. Or especially in America, you can be a doctor for many reasons, and they have the word doctor attached to their name because they want people to believe them. Imagine when we have doctors speak, when we are in real districts, what we do, COVID, we say, let's have the doctors, give them space. Hey, not activity, not yan talk in doctor in your That's what we do. In doctor in your Yes, because we made it. But those doctors, in fact, they were not only in that district. And it goes for lawyers. Lawyers will be like, say, wow, lawyer. But again, everybody else. The fisherman, the laborer, the everybody else is part of Suwareh. Then activism is not something we stop in Ramadan. And in fact, it's very welcome in Ramadan. It's good days. You think that those criminals, you think they suspend their files because it's Ramadan? When you see them, the Lengis and Haftan, different or Waramba or Grambo and everything, Ginamuna Gine Sarah, Ginamuna May Badolobi, Ginamuna Bil Jaka Juma, and you think, nay, very call among Kai, Linko Muntuma, very call no, Hamani did it, Dubiga. Njalo can be the Njalo very call. Tapale can not Tapale very call, such a cabinet, such a very call. I'll tell you that. Just as fenkat bi dina ci kamel TRRC taxaw di ko waat they don't care They don't care. One, this struggle is not something we suspend. This struggle is not something we postpone. And if I say struggle is, yes, I'm not in definition for struggle for most Gambians is what happened in the 22 years. No, this struggle will be forever. We get better or environment may get better, but the struggle will be forever. The struggle started for when we were born. We have to understand and accept it. And this consciousness, what it does, when we talk about education, awareness, and so on, we say you cannot fight for people. You can sacrifice your life. You can put yourself out there for danger and be killed. You can satisfy yourself. You can, I mean, people your people that empathize with you, people that support you, might celebrate you, I said. Some might not. But one thing that your subconsciousness, a level of consciousness, it dictates certain things. Two things do happen. At times, we get overwhelmed, emotions, because of something we believed in, and people go and do certain things, sacrifice themselves, and they satisfy me. Look, I'd rather die than see this happen. Many reasons do that. Many reasons do that. And you, nga gis other people ne la, yes, moom mu ngi wax ne li jaral na ko lii yëpp lana tax de mu taxaw mu xeex de no. am na ñoo xam ne fii nañ ne no, that's not what how I get what I some people think that, look, I do this. Ega nañ foofu ñoom pour ñoom dañ ega foofu, that's what they do, and they die and they believe ne in their absence their death would still mean something and should mean something. Other people will say ne I will do things best of to try to see this thing. I will have to preserve myself to fight another day because this fight is continuous. This fight is a continuous process. And I have responsibilities. I have primary responsibilities for myself, my family. Even though I am doing this based on my consciousness, based on my empathy, and is it based on the skills or based as an activist or what my as a freedom fighter, whatever you call yourself, to create this environment which would be conducive, which would be a sharing environment, which would be a sustainable environment in creating this greater good for our mutual benefit for the peace and stability of this place, country, in order to create that change. You might do that. In doing so, I need to make sure I am well and capable to come out and fight every day. Because in doing so, that we can bring about change. I don't believe that I have to die for that change to happen. But in the process, I am doing this change. If my opponents or the enemy happens to take my life, I expect the people I was fighting with and the people I was fighting for, the environment I'm trying to create, would remember me and remember me in a sense, not to only celebrate me, but stand for what we believed or what we fought for or what I was fighting for. This will bring us to a lot of people. I don't want to start naming names because this struggle to build Gambia started, I mean, far, started a long time ago. And we have never captured this. The Edward Francis Smalls and others have never been celebrated, but not only celebrated to be immortalized somewhere else that we can see, right? But I can bet what they would want to see is the Gambia they wanted. They fought for the society. In fact, they fought for become true. That society become true. That's why when we talk about, okay, let's fight. Let's try to bring this recognition. It's very important to recognize people who have sacrificed as a lesson, people to learn from. But it's very important to make sure what that person represents. That's too is the dominant factor. What I'm saying here is all the victims in that country, all the victims in that country, those that unfortunately died due to what they went through, those survivors needed, we needed to capture the reason why they were victims. Those people that fought and died, we will have to capture the reason why they were fighting. Those people that survived, fought, and luckily survived, we have to capture the reason why they were fighting. And we have to celebrate this. And we have to celebrate it to make sure it happens. What's the point of building statues of liberation when we are not liberated? The most essential thing. You think standing out there to build a statue of Solo Sending is enough? You think that standing out there building a statue of Solo Sending would mean anything when Gambians are struggling with the basics of the things that Solo Sending spoke about? We are in a country that we don't even have an electoral reform. One thing that when Solo Sending went out there, that's what he championed. Not even to talk about a constitutional reform. An electoral reform we don't have. A bill. We cannot even put that through. What are we celebrating? To name that hospital for Edward Francis Small, in fact, is an insult. A hospital that is a death trap. A death trap. If we are to suñ bëggee nit ki soo respecté sa baay nga dangaa soo nga bugga sa doom nga respect sa baay mi mel nu mel nga tuddee ko sa doom dana doom boobu da nga am pour make sure ne def nga luy tax sa turi baay bi duñ ko disrespect but ñu am hospital buñ inherit from colonial taxaw ba léegi hospital bi nekk death trap suñ jigéen ñi di dem foofu di dee just like that di ragala dem hospital amoon na jamono dañoo ragala dem hospital because the hospital they are all contaminated COVID. United Kingdom there's a time nit ñi ragala dem hospital mag ñi because of what they were contaminated by MRSA, something like that. But then could have a national emergency. And national emergency, then ko parliament, national emergency. You take eye hospitals. You put a target. So me to try the take over. I'm mean. Doesn't mean no. Some resources of parliament to not a hospital. That's what we do. Edward Smart Francis War Hospital said that. Sadawda Conference Center. Lan lañ fa waxtaan lan am solo lañ fa waxtaan am solo nit ñu dégg du ko fa di waxtaan lu am solo am I right? Yeah, am I right? Thank you. The same thing about solution. It should mean more than just the name and the statue. What solution fought for? It's important to recognize, as I said. Don't take that away. But looking at important, that recognition would mean nothing. People's lives have not changed. Money, when we sacrifice, we have to understand that. And The message more have more important to speak out, to leave the to communicate that in speech. We know we can just in voice. You see, there are a lot of people doing greater good, in fact. Develop. You don't have to come and say, man, but you see, why is it effective? It's communication. They communicate the good they do. Why is it good to communicate that good? Yangi dimbale other people to emulate, to learn from it, so that to help them to empathize with, muna jël that consciousness, for muna empathy in them and pass it on. Mota, people publicize certain deeds. I mean, you want things have been done. Nga read ko, nga janga ko, nga am yërmande sa xol toy. Yow nga jóg dem defi leneen. Similar. O nga dem sa dimbale loolu mu dem kanam. Again, lana tax mu important pour nekk an activist in this sense. MRSA, thank you, MRSA. Nekk activist in this sense. Mooy kaddu. Moo tax mooy tax sooy def as an activist waxal kaddu am solo. It come back to haunt you. Su nekkee ne lu bon la. Su nekkee kaddu bu am maana. Soo fi jógee kaddu nga fa des. Tey ñu ngi wax Gandhi. Tey ñu ngi wax Malcolm X. Tey ñu ngi wax other people. Tey ñu ngi wax Edward Frank. Everybody lu ñu wax si moom. Not lum def like, but lan kaddu yum tënk. Most of them seen kaddu. Most people don't even know lan lañ def. But kaddu yu ñu wax rek ñu ngi ko repeat. You can use as quote, you can use to inspire. And that is important. That is very important. And the important that communicate, book that consciousness. So nekene, nitki. You see, it's easy to say fatete lo xam. You ne olof wax na ne lo xam lu yomban. Lo xam mom la fa yomb. Lo xamul yomb. Look, so mënut dara, foog ñu jàngal la. So xamul dara, in a sense mooy ne xamuloo dara doesn't mean ne you are stupid or no. You are not conscious of things. Nañ jël example again, I'll bring it. Moo tax activism important. Nga amee clear message, nga wax nit ñi. Nga tax ñu xam. We cannot expect to liberate Gambia without Gambians liberate themselves. You cannot do that. What you can do mooy ne di nga influence a change. But that change doesn't mean it liberates the people. That change means that if I change the gods, if I change probably from Ben Suwareh to Mariama to Aisatu. But Mariama, Ben Aisatu would be the same people. You see, and now that's again when we talk about gender, we have to be very careful. You think Aisatu Ture would be better than Adam Abaro? What did Aisatu Ture prove to us? What we thought about we need a woman, Minister of Women's Affairs. What good did it do to us? How many women, Minister of Women's Affairs do we have in the country bringing about change? And they are not appointed. How many women affairs ministers we have in the diaspora? Making change, and they are not appointed. They become activists, they become anything. But they are impacted. That's why it's important to have that education. It's important to have that consciousness and make sure the people are conscious because it brings that empathy. And again, it brings that awareness. When people are aware, they can take informed decisions. You see, that's why it's important to educate our people. If you can't, what you do is, if we don't participate, you see, the change will only come when we participate. What are important you have activists to participate? Because what political parties mainly do in the history of Gambia or history of politics, political parties don't really come out to bring about change. Political parties come out to change the guards from one party to another. And probably some parties defer a little bit, do better than others, but to what with customers. Let's take example in America. Some people will turn out to say the Democrats are better for us, but there's certain aspects of their life that democratic policies always touch. Probably it's part in the healthcare, part in certain areas. But how comes if the majority of Americans are poor, we have minority Americans are rich, not the Democrats, not the conservatives. The conservatives have made their point. They perceive that the conservatives are for the rich, well off. They make their point. They don't tax the rich. How comes the Democrats will not tax the rich? How comes Democrats are scared of saying that they're going to tax the rich? Any Democrat that says it's going to tax the rich, that Democrat doesn't get nominated. Did you ask yourself that? If the average American expect the taxes to come from the multi-billionaires, but you dare not say that on a democratic platform. Because if you say that on a democratic platform, you don't get selected. Why? Because the selection process is controlled by money people. Money people. Few of them participate there, but the money people. And how do they control that? Because of the structures that control the Democratic Party. Understand that this money, the American elections need money, and these money people are important, integral, in for us to win an elections. Our policies have to be watered down. Our policies have to be watered down. Have to be watered down in a sense we cannot touch the rich. Yes, the radical politicians, Bernie Sanders and others, Elizabeth Lawrence and others, would not be nominated. Biden would be nominated. Obama would be nominated. And others would be nominated. The moderates. The moderates would be nominated. That's politics. Politics, that's what it does. It's for changing the guards. Activism, what it does, is to bring consciousness to make sure the changing of the guards would be better. Change will always happen. Change will always happen. The timing can be determined, can be influenced. The type can be determined, can be influenced. But it's a matter of time it will happen. Then being an activist, what it does would be to improve. That's why people that keep on saying, wow, don't let me not talk defense me, don't let me not concern about independence. Again, that's a lesson for you. We all don't we all we all we all don't fit in the same mold to be within a political structure. At times we get to a level we confident that we build our own structure, or we see a structure we think we fit. That or is timely now to get into the structure in order to effect that change. It does happen. Does it affect the change? No, you be part of changing that gap. Do you improve something? Yes, you might. That's why it's important in the sense of Gambia, we educate our people. Activists educate their people. Educate themselves to educate their people and for their people to take an informed choice. Because politicians who come in, what do they show you first? My candidate. Then politicians select candidates. Do you ask yourself why we don't have parliamentary candidates who are fit for purpose? Yes, once people that know or can will not take part because of they are scared that they will lose. Because they are not ready to put the hard work to get what it takes. And because of the environment, it's not conducive for them. But why else? Who else wins an election? Someone, a candidate. A candidate will win the elections, not the party. In most cases, yes, the party structure will help. But we have seen areas that a candidate wins elections. And most of the time, the party structures, what they do the popular politics. They do it in the safe hands. If they come to Bakau, they look for someone from a prominent Bakau family. And that means certain things. You see, that's why we have this politics of tribe going on. If you go to, I mean, Sarembojo, you look for a candidate, and that means a certain thing. If you do kill Ayib, it means something else. You see, now our candidates become to reflect a tribe. More active tribe is your more of a representations become of that tribe. I am saying this again. More active a tribe is doesn't necessarily mean that the bigger tribe might be constituting the same. Some small tribes might even represent more because they are more active. They carry more influence. They be just as in the case I explained in the Democrat and the Conservative, because of the wealth, sorry, the wealthy people and politics in America, because of their impact, their influence get to the Democrats, get to the conservative, and they make sure they have what they want. This is important to understand that we cannot fight for our people. We have to fight with our people. And in order to fight with our people, we need to educate our people for our people to be conscious. You see, Che Guevara did the same mistake. Che Guevara went to Africa first. He went to Congo, tried to get the Congolese and all the Africans to fight to liberate themselves. They never. They never fought. And he was surprised that the Cubans that came from Cuba took this struggle more seriously than the Congolese. You see, consciousness? Because of the consciousness of the Cuban fighters ready to even to come to fight, and some of them are white people. Yes, some Cubans are blacks, but they are Cubans. After all, this is not their fight. No, they took it to be their fight because of their consciousness. They are whites because no, they are liberated. They fight for liberation. They don't see color. They came to Congo. Congolese don't care. They are the majority would be settled with it. Not only that, the Congolese that portray to care, the politicians or all these things, are not ready to die or fight. And Che Guevara made an observation at that time. He said he have found the most lazy politician. That was Joseph Kabila. But he predicted that Kabila would, Kabila would prevail in this struggle and will lead that country. Che Guevara did that. Do you know why? He realized how strategic, Kabila was. How Kabila was using the Chinese and using the Russians. You see, people think that the Chinese and Russians have the same interests. Oh, they are all socialists. They all subscribe to communism. And no, everybody have their interests. Every country, sovereign nation have their interests. But Kabila was strategic in controlling these influences. Yeah, he was lazy. He was a partying person and everything, but he was a politician. You see, that's why in politics it's a different thing. We have to be very careful to make sure if we want change to happen, our people have to be educated to know this change. If not, we will not achieve that change. And I want to explain two instance of empathy in this education, consciousness, and empathy. And I don't have time. I would have explained skill, but I will take a bit of skill in this to explain this bit. Probably next time I'll talk about the environment and the greater good. It was an introduction. Empathy. Once you're conscious, you can empathize. You see, and when you're conscious, you empathize because what consciousness brings is awareness, awareness of your environment, and awareness of environment obviously means of people and the, and started to explore, think of others and other things, starting to have an understanding of people And when you do that, you have empathy, starting to see things, not just to rush into things. I mean, to be that patient in taking up things. And it brings your, builds your empathy. And that's where you start to take decisions based on that information you have. And when you use empathy to do these things, you are very effective in fact in forwarding the change. And you use your skills, whatever skills you have. A doctor with empathy, just imagine. A lawyer with empathy, just imagine. An engineer, and whoever can be. A layperson with empathy. But once you call yourself an activist or become an activist, that empathy kicks in. Think you to, I mean, be passionate about it. It's inspire you to do things. And it comes out. See, there are many things that happens in your life. Many. I can every time or every day. But there are things that sticks with you. And the reason this thing sticks with me, and to talk about it today, is because it's related to what we're going through right now. It's not long ago. Um, this was about 5 years ago. Is it 5 years now? Yeah, 2015. Okay, this is 2015. Going back to the Gambia, I went to the Gambia July 2015, and landed in Gambia. And I will always, when you travel out of the Gambia, there's certain feelings you have. And if you're an emotional person, we cry. And I do all the time, flying out of the Gambia, because what I always think of, when will I come back again? Because I am never settled outside of Gambia. I'm always listen, but physically, when I am to come back again, that's how much that country means to me. When I am to come back again, and I that feeling of I am leaving most of the people that I know or attached to me behind, and don't know when I'm going to come back again. And the third bit is I am leaving these people in these conditions. I am going in a more sanitized environment. You see, environment again. I am going into more sanitized environment by choice. Choice. My people are left in this. I have an escapism. I can escape. Going back to Gambia, you just reload, start to reload. The environment you left here, the privileges you have, the rights that you enjoyed, the security that you live with your family and everything else. And you're going to Gambia, and obviously you're going to Gambia for business, you're going to Gambia for pleasure, you're going to Gambia for visit, or whatever it is. You leave your families, your immediate families here, and you're going to meet the majority of rest of your family and friends. You land in there, or the minute you get into this airspace, you start to feel something else. Yes, these different feelings come in joy, but if you are of certain nature, that joy is overcome by some of grief. Dangay sa banex, punayang ñibi sa réew, o dem sa réew, setti sa réew. Just imagine ñoo xam ne, this is my choice. Maa ngi dem holiday or whatever you call it, business or whatever. What about ko xam ne dañ ko delloo du coobare, neexu ko pour delloo, it's not his choice to go back. Mu ngi génnoon Gambia to do something, to make something out of it. In fact, bu moo génn Gambia, coono bu mu def, coono bu mu teg kilifaam yi, coono bu mu dem through, and everything else. End of the minute, he has to come back, not of his choice, not of his doing. It's because of like that privilege that Ben Suwareh and others have to settle in this country and to enjoy, to benefit from all these things, to work hard and do it. Majority, they have not committed any crime. The only crime they committed is they cannot acquire the requirements to be normalized. This is what they want. But Gem Gambia, and what do I feel? As I said, the feelings overcome by, come on, sadness, and you learn, and the experience just get overrun. I mean, that this is my experience, and this is the experience of 2015. Went through it, everything is gone. The people I know, people I grow up with, people I work with, serve with in the services. Now they are doing something different. They are no more wearing the uniform. They're doing other responsibilities and other things. They are there for other reasons. Starting to see how lucky, how fortunate I am. Yeah, through hard work and everything, but doesn't mean that I work harder than them. That's why that element of luck too is important. But why not? We create an environment so that we would not be so privileged. This is what should it be? It should be about a Gambia that we don't all want to fly out to go out, or when we go out and come back, even by choice, we don't feel that bad. You see, this is what it takes. That empathy takes to push someone. People ask, "Sa passion before ko jele, sa energy before ko jele." That's where it comes from. And the land Gambia, the whole this environment. I'm not talking about infrastructure. Yeah, those things come in, but it's not important. The people. Let's just concentrate on the people. You start seeing people that older than you starting to give you courtesy, which is not in our tradition. In fact, in a way, because the older person always expects, but we all give courtesy. But lower meanwhile, to the extent of the def sa bopa, lower yourself. Nga gis kula mag, kula muna jot, lower bopa. Hey, come on. Because mugi ame problem as a porter. Because of, you see, that $5, £5 means a lot. Who dignity and everything have to be thrown away. And you look at the passenger, he's not looking well. Come on, you can tell me he was not nourished, he's not eating properly. Hey, look at the examples. The minute most of our people are appointed in position, what do you see? You see it in them, send Yaramingo Punjikais. Send Yaramiko, be a man or a woman, young or old. What does that tell you? They then elevate. I'm not privileged. That privilege should be for everyone that works hard to get it. People are working hard, but and I'll give you the proof. Get them for you get some young, you know, and boss, hey, boss, hey, your colleagues. These were people that you serve with in the army, in the police, or somewhere, or even in the civil service. Let's say my experience in the army. Some of these things people were senior in the service. Some of these people were my instructors. They taught me. But the minute now I am my Europe new, they lost their confidence. And I'll tell you one thing, in the services, that always stands. Still now, I'm not certain people in the diaspora here or anywhere in the thing, they are no more in the service. I I struggle to call them their name. I have to call them their rank. And some of these people I have to address them by song. Yes, that's what law and the Janus Modigante. And same thing happens with my subordinates. Army is regimented. Services are regimented. Respect them for their nigger. I have seen people who now are very senior in the armed forces, who I thought I was senior. They give me that respect. Sir, sir, come on. They are the boss. That's what it is. They are the boss, but they give the respect. But in this case, these people were my senior. They taught me that relationships should still stand. That mutual respect, but they have to lower themselves. Hey boss, hey boss, hey boss. Yeah, yen kay mom and they have started to degrade themselves. And you kay fi mom bro fi kay nyon they are ham. Yeah, they speak they use different languages term that you relate to them. Ah, yeah, dina ñew nak ga topato different lama. Suma morom la, suma moromi goor. Ba lama bay tek jabar ci kër, mu tek jabar ci kër. Dama am ay njaboot ñu respect ma suma kër dafa war am ay njaboot ak jabar yu ko respect këram. Just as nu mu waree respect those people. Waaye su mu nee nekkee ne mënut a amul that thing in him su génnee moromi góoram sax mënut a qualify kooku. I'll tell you ne psychologist will tell you ne we behave in a different way at kër and which is dangerous. Moo tax environment bi fa war change and the environment bi moo change mooy ne we have to make sure we put the right people in place. This is not about power. People need to I have something hateful about or something against Barrow. I have problem with anybody who never in position couldn't elect, couldn't appoint, and got the lower. These people, that's what they went through. You give up and you drive through. You give up, you drive through. And when you start driving, this is again to tell you what our education means. And people that you start with in the diaspora or talk to, there is no Gambia bro. Hi, Gambia mu get develop. Why? So tawale coastal road bro. Why? Danga gis building yoo xam ne danga waaru man. Doo foog ne Gambia la. Man, danga gis kër yoo xam ne bro. Why? Danga nii sax. Wala, nga dem Sanyang sa boy, nii si àll bi sa boy, gis benn kër bu garaaw. This is what they tell you. And these are people, ñu dëkk si West bi fii, these are people that are educated. But you get measure development in Gambia. So we say career bro. Hey boy, koñ boobu léegi sa boy, soo ko demee doo ko xamee. I business is paying for tech man. That's what they tell you. Coastal road, man. Sorry, with coastal road tie boy. Don't go harming man. You have some palenko man. Yeah. Oh bro, low multi wa ya jame bro. Ligay na de. Ama yeah, this a lot. Nya hula wa. Na ligay na. My drive, I'm driving through that. I'm going through checkpoints. My gig is the people in the checkpoints, these soldiers, some at times police officers, the horrible conditions. And you can tell the treatment they give when they perceive certain things. They perceive the person in the vehicle certain ways. And make you sad. That's the country we have, but people think that we have developed. But they are not measuring the development of the people that should benefit from the rock. You give measure development for few things that have changed and change in a bad way. I'm not telling without you if you what else in that dark, in that other things. But these are educated Gambians celebrating that. You know, success by development. I went home again, the same feelings. You see, it's easy. I could just drive off. I mean, dal si ben a hotel or probably belong ben a kill or you or demonstrate ben a kill friend. I have many of them that I mean, some peculiar different and small Gambia nights. Small Gambia. But you see, it's always important for me go back to those roots. There's nothing wrong to buga them deki for deki or them dal for dal something. You work for that. But I am given this thing here because when I go to Gambia, I go for Gambia for reasons. That's why I've not gone for the 5 years because I mean I don't have those things to go for. When I have those things to go for, I'll go. I don't go for Gambia for holidays. I let them and my experience. Get egg up. It's like you are in a grave yàlla rek xam bàmmeel nu mel, but I can tell you ne xam naa ne bàmmeel dafa lëndëm. We all know ne bàmmeel dafa lëndëm. We don't have to be better than alive. nga duga nga duga maa la wax ne nga duga dëkk bi di duga dëkk bi di moo ngay duga dëkk bi di moo muy gën a lëndëm. The time ngay duga ba kaw sanca ba yaa ngi like in the 7 foot down. Dëkk bi mu ngi lëndëm mu ngi cardinal rustic and everything. But you see, there's nothing wrong with all. All is valid. I use the word rustic, but rustic is not the word. I am a person of preserving because of heritage value. We need to preserve our heritage, but it's not going to be disorganized. You know what I noticed first? The guttering, gutter come up because of we cannot now, as a people, we have gone to a level of our so-called development civilization. Time yaay jam yëpp léegi nit ñi xamatuñ how to behave. Now jël nañ suñ mbalit yëpp fatal ko tey. Bakaw we never have issues with flooding because we have drainage works. I'm giving you my experience as Bakaw and other places. Gota yëpp fatal nañ. Now you just there's no gutters. The few street lights that were functional are normal. The roads you Halona paved are gone. They are not been maintained. And the spirit of the people are worn out. And people are divided. The first thing you come out in the morning, people started to tell you, Moitul ni. It's 2015. That was the time, yeah. But I'll tell you, it does not change much. But it doesn't change. Nulane Moitul ni. This was a community, but there's nothing like Moitul ni. There's nothing in difference with Christians, Muslims, Mandinka, Wolof, Sos, Bakau Sanchaba was just whoever. I mean, we just walk on. But no, Moitul ni. Ni so wahefi, or ni fi, so ni fi, and different things. A segregated event, and we call about development. But the main issue here, the story example I need to give. My look, go out in the morning. You say the same thing. I'll tell you, within our area, I know of about 10 Jaka and Juma within a 1 mile radius. 1 mile radius, about 10. I have visited almost all of them. Yes, I want to find out about people. I want to go into different, and everyone I go, the community have changed. But they have not changed for good, or better. And everywhere in them, you are celebrated because of they expect something from you. That was the sad bit. And the indignity of people manifest themselves, begging, begging, begging. It's not our culture, but it's now just normal. Let them see, and what is Jackie Jumai Bari? That's not one. I went to fire and I've not seen 20 people in one of them. And you know the fire is in Gambia is like, if you used to fire here or living in the diaspora, it's a joke. Yes, you will hear the Adan, the first Adan, and so on very early. But the time you get to the fire, it's literally a break. But you don't see people. And all these Jumas, jackals. You go out, you don't see people. Do you know who you see? You see people. Do you know who people you see? Elderly people walking around, doing their normal Hantuswa, and women. 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 Women fetching water. Women running to, find something. Women, group of women with baskets, with produce, looking for markets. Group of women going to markets to get produce to bring to market. You go to the market, dominantly is women, Gambian women. Super activity, yeah, is women. The young men you see, you need them physical fitness. The rest of the rest, I kokoto, I prioritation cruise, you know, that's what you see in the morning. I've, I've gone this side of Bakau, that side of Bakau, that side of Bakau. I've walked Dohna Fajara, Dohna Key Point, New Yoni. I've done all that in the morning. I've been to the beach, Sunway, Fajara, all the time in the morning. That's what you have. I've seen it. You don't see people, you don't hear people. They can find a cellar. This they can first start to come to life at 8 o'clock. 8, 8 o'clock. People started to go out to work. Generally. This is the fact I see. That's the country we have. How the change gonna happen? But coming back, I sat with a friend. I went to visit a friend, a childhood friend, a dear friend, a friend who is smart and very smart when we are growing up because and did well in school and everything. But that's why I said there's element of luck here. Madam said to friend, I went and visit this friend. Madam said to friend, first thing in the morning, because I was just coming from the beach in the morning. The Kyrgyz Makirla, it's not somewhere, it's it's that's how we grow up in Macau. Those I just walk in any time of the day, all night. It's just like going back from my house. I grow up in those compounds. Went in and I met this friend. No, I didn't see the friend, and I asked for him when he came out and started knitting greetings. Yalaham, Yalaham. Because I normally go out. I always make sure I have a little bit of money with me. And every early morning, whatever it is, I have a little bit of money going out. And I have not spent this money, and I'm almost home. And when I came here, when I went, Madam Security, it's not normal, in fact, for me to do that with this friend. It's not normal for me to do that with this friend. Yalla rek ham that day why I took that little bit of money and I gave it to the friend. Yalla ham. I have never remember giving him little bit of money because of the respect I have for him. I support him, but I don't do that because of the respect I have for him, because I know the kind of person he is. But that day, for God reasons, I went out, going back, and still have this money. Buma jele halis bi jox ko ko, dankal ko ko, I think was probably 200, 300, not much. Dankal ko ko. Not something I'll give it to him. If you know what I mean. Ma jox ko ko. And moo ko joxee, xam nga ñun taadu moo ko joxee for this jox ko ko rek. And the attention was called because younger sister mu ngi génn si, xam nga. And I was having banter with the younger sister. Xam nga. I was having banter with the younger sister. And I told her, I saw the friend walking out. And Lolo Tasa, Lolo Momo Allah, he was walking out. He's not even telling me, name, boy, Magi Gina. It's like he was sneaking out. He was sneaking out. And when he sneaked out, where did I find him? Buying breakfast. Buying breakfast. Lan la halat. I never discussed that with him. I never discussed it with anybody. But my smahel lumajo, moine, the little bit of money I gave that morning might be the only money he had with him. And he straight away went out there to get something for the family. I'll come to the continuity of that. Then when I went back home, I was touched by this. Buguma eketi conversation about that. But I want to find out from him without raising the conversation to understand actually what he is facing. I sat, I came back and we sat to have tea. And I understand actually what happened. The 2015, for one reason, the season wasn't good. He works in the hotel industry, and it was a very bad season. And I think he was even laid off before the end of the season. And the other thing is, as someone else respected in the community because of him, he have a little bit more than the people in the community. Managed to take the wife away from him, stole his wife when he was struggling, and the wife had to leave and leave him with the kids. Now he didn't have that job that he had. He was laid off even before the due period, and now he's broke. But that came out from Nakab Sajaba, and he said to me, "This is what happened." Bob, man, Neil Adame. But when we sat there, two things happened. Someone came to him. Am ku ñëw si moom mu ne ko dafa am ganaar dafa bëgg a jënd ganaar this passé boo ñëw pour moom di jënd ganaar si moom I never knew he had a boyfriend amul liggéeyam yaaxu na but mu ngi daan dooleem mu am boyfriend seen kër magut but nu kër gi tuuti am na fa ganaar pour jaay ganaar but what happened this time mooy ne because of the pressure bu mu nekka pour feed a family ganaaram yi daanaka jeex na because of cycle of ganaar yi di jur di nen di yooyu xam nga fu mu ne moom ngi the demand is higher than the income coming and this guy person in fact came to find by a kind of ganaar mooy ganaar yi saraf yooyu ganaar bu am peta or whatever mu ne ko aw ma waaye dama check kër diw ma ne ko boy danga am poultry because I cannot see a poultry ma ne ko suma gannaaw néegam gannaaw néegam la jël the space he have to share mu jël that space tool ko pour income why am I saying this is when people say waa Gambia dañ lazy that's not true am nañu lazy but there are hard working parents and parents single parents men I want to highlight women xam nañ seen boss but there is a lot men mu am that problem mu am that problem ne jaay na ganaaram yi almost yëpp lu mu fa desee he's trying to buy you mature again and I have that I went home the next day he visited me and what okay next he visited me what happened is this man I like I mean I buy fruits all the time and he put in the fruits a bunch of bananas and bunko ini muna ma boy dama la indi banana boy fo jele banana muna ma smart garden and I had to go and visit I never wanted to in fruit but also impressed when the same kid you see the little space you have in this one you know Gambia when you say one he turned that to a poultry and just and in fact he borrowed a part of a neighbor's property to plant bananas and he used the manure from the ganar to fertilize that land because that land is not that fertile but he managed to have bananas and to grow bananas this is how much this gentleman was doing in order to, to survive. And the environment he grew up, I grew up in that environment. I was lucky to get out of that environment. If not, I could have been him, as many others, or worse than him. Not that he's not educated, he's not smart. He did better than me when we were going to school, when we were in school. He was doing better than me. I have no, I cannot claim have better parents than him because I grew up in that house. I know how loving, caring the parents are. I have seen how much those parents did in for that society, just as my parents did. We grow up. He has no vice. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. Yes, he's a Gambian who doesn't smoke, drink, and obviously very. I mean, disciplined. In fact, he had a wife and he kept the relationship until he economically. Just a minute, I have to open the. Sorry, guys. Um, I mean, that's what his this thing is. Another case here. I went to visit a friend of mine, a friend that was born and brought up in Cove and moving to the Bakau area. And very intelligent person who did science in school and become a medical practitioner, and a very responsible person. I went and visited this friend and the environment he lives in, and again, another disciplined friend, not smoke, drink, or very disciplined. You see, the stereotype, lumabanga Guinea, that stereotype that people try to bundle and blame the people for what we are going through. That's Labuga Guinea. And mostly when they do that, they say that the youth. We all know women, we cannot blame women for anything. They're doing the best they can. But they will try to take the youths. But they don't tend to understand the challenges of the youth. That's why I said when we look at empathies and look, we see these things. But I want to come back now to tell you about these stories. You know, when I was doing, I posted two stories here. The allegations, and I did the allegations, and as I said, people said Ramadan, and these are Ramadan allegations. Let's talk about the issue about 100,000, $100 million hotel. Toog nañ ñu gis ñu ne Gambia government, and be careful, Ahmad Ba, advised by other people, gisuma for finance, side nañ ñu ne 100 million pour sampa a hotel at somewhere in Gambia. Waaye ñun xam nañ ne TDA bi la, Tourist Development Area, ñu ne hotel bi dañ koo sampa pour OIC conference bi, 5 star hotel la am presidential suites. Léegi ñu ne ku ko sampa moo ko sampa 100%, moo ko of finance. Gambia government ñooy provide the land suuf si. And ku ko sampa ñu ne doomi Sénégal la, mu ngi tudda Ablaye Cham. Waaye ñu ko xam tam ñu ne yaayam Gambien la wala mu ngi am askani Gambia. That doesn't important to me. I mean, regardless who he is, an investor is an investor, but obviously an investor who is Gambian is, I mean, far preferred. As an investor who is a Senegambian is far more preferred than investor who is from out there because landing am in tax. Fine. But let us be careful. That does not be used by Senegambian investor, Senegalese investor, or Senegambian investor. No. You know, use that context. Nah, Nigerian said the benefit first. We don't, regardless of who it be, going anybody could not abuse, be it a Gambian, Senegalese, German, or what. Regardless who it be, anybody could deal with us. We want to make sure our interest is looked after, be it whatever you come from. You know, this is what it's going to do. But the devil is in the details. We don't know exactly Sibir Lala, and we expect the parliamentarians and others to get in there to do it. As activists, what we do is to highlight, agitate to highlight because there's something's not right. The signature, when they may check basic due diligence tells you nothing about these guys. The company, the company itself tells you nothing. There's no proven track record. The company be mun nañoo def lii mun nañoo def lii or def nañ nii def nañ no. Anything lu war a am company shares or anything you see anything lu prove na 100 million it's but again hell may Gambia fuñ tollu tey dëkk bi nu mel conditions yi nu mel two pandemic bi nu mel si àddina bi tourism ak travel nu mel not next year not year before at 100 million nu toll kan moo ko jël dugal ko si loo xam ne sutuwut xel rek may nañu ko bon am na loo xam ne mu ngi si sow li lu ñu and this is what we expect to talk about and when we look at this 2017 there were possibilities of some development of this aspect. There's a Gambian engineer. I'm not going to call names, Guma in the guy into this discussion in any ways, but I can tell you a prominent Gambian developer who had a partnership with a Turkish company have tried to get a similar project, but he was not supported by the government. Now, what we find out more in this government from 27 depuis bu ñëwee Adama Barrow depuis bu ñëwee lu moo def rek and this is the thing Gambians don't be surprised that's why Adama Barrow is wealthy anything lu mu def mu ko def pour moom lu moo am ak ñu ko defal lu ñoo am but deful dara pour Gambia lu ñoo am moo tax condition buñ nekka tey ñu war ko understand we cannot just only waa nit ñi jaaykat yi ñooy yokk price we get there now this 100 million ñu toog amuñ si details léegi ñu ngi dégg óoruñu allegations mu ngi ñëw ne Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation pensioners yi ñoo ko moom Gambia government moomuñ Social Security have to be clear Gambia government duñ am mooy to look to monitor to control investments of funds on by creating that company called Social Security who will look after the money boo xam ne pensioners yi moom la ñu contribute then that money have to be really contributed and invested wisely and make sure we secure but lu xewoon jamono yaay jam mu ngi am ba tey war nañ get si foofu but in this case dégg nañ ne this Ablaye Cham Social Security ñu ngi on board as guarantors pour mu dem turi ne am na defen pour mu dem uti xaalis pour mun a def lii loolu lañ dégg óoruñ and we wondered but hence ne mënuñoo am anything on the company Ablaye Cham company bi lan lañ def dañ dem seet di company 2015 la ko def dañ dem seet Ablaye Cham si boppam am koo xam ne fen ñu jël dem Sénégal bu mu jógee gis ne njuuj njaaj bari na suñu mbokk amoon na ay computers xariti Macky Sall ñoo dee support Macky Sall ñoo dee tax Macky Sall win election ay computers contracts government ak yooyu yëpp njuuj njaaj moo si mujj story bi siyaa nañ ko waaye am na other allegations am ne njuuj njaaj yoo xam ne bokkoon na si but again the same person 2017 ñaari moto la jël may ko Adama Barrow mu jël ay moto may ko Macky Sall benn moto bu may Macky Sall bu Macky Sall duggee moto boobu dem Tiwaawoon moto boobu fa tàkkoon mooy moto boobu tàkkoon Tiwaawoon Sénégalese government bi jënd moo ko may Macky Sall nu may Macky Sall moto noonu la may Adama Barrow ñaari moto loolu la ñoo ooyee bribery bon in order pour bu am ñii amuñ xaalis dañoo dem uti xaalis si turi Gambia turi Social Security ne ñoom ñoo fi nekk lii lañ nii lañ mel ñu am nit ki doo mun a jël benn soirée jox ko ne ko ok demal nga indi xaalis déedéet benn soirée foofu am na ko garanti lu ko wone ne benn soirée am na lu tax tey su ma bëggoon a toog ne damaa def dara damaa ne suma kër gaa ngi nii de ñëw naa suma kër gi mu ngi nii ngeen téye si wala mu ngeen jox ma tey collatéral boobu dégg nañ ne social security la loolu mooy wone di corruption mooy def ay OIC project yi yëpp dina fi ñëpp corruption yi Adama Ba moo tax Gambien si war a laaj seen bopp story bi ma bind ma ne na Gambien yi laaj seen bopp lan moo tax Lamin Sané Nyang Jai ñu resign waxtu buñ resign 2018 dafa amoon committee boo xam ne dañ ko teg committee bi ku ñu ay Ibrahima Cham engineer nekkoon Gamworks pour naa mu ngi Gamworks ba tey moo chair that committee boobu la ñu wax pre qualification committee mooy committee boo xam ne dañ ko teg tunda bi permanent secretary of works mu fa nga am the MD of NAWEC MD of Civil Aviation and MD of National Road Authority teg nguural bi committee bi pour ñu check Gambian companies dat ñoo xam ne ñu qualify nañ pour am nañ ko ethics pour jël contracts ak yan façon contract yu meññoo ñu qualify la pour di Saudi agreement bi ak lifin bi contracts am na contracts yoo xam ne du yëpp Saudi government bi ñoo ko sponsor te Saudi government bi seen condition mooy ne dañoo boole dañ ko ooye doon rek ne dañoo boole Saudi companies si biir lifin bi pour ñoom tam ñu bit waaye lu mu miin rek mooy ne Saudi government dinañ am kon dinañ si am nii la xaalis yi lay demee léegi Gambien si lu ñoo def mooy Gambien companies yi duñ nekk subcontractors rek de pour ñu nekk partners ak Saudi companies yoo xam ne ñooy ñëw contracts lii la woon Adama Barrow buga certain people ñoo xam ne qualify pour ñu dugal leen si luñ jot loolu bokk na lu tax Nyang Jai ak Lamin Sané ñu resign ñoom ñu ne duñ si bokk léegi noonu lañ dissolve pre-qualification léegi government bi taxaw wecci wax bu Saudi waxuñ ne ñu dissolve pre-qualification amuñ anything to do with that Saudi waxuñ ne ñu lifi Saudi luñ wax mooy te ñu doon def pre-qualification si xam nañ ne lii dañ nii la ñoo def nga xam ne suñ ñëwee Gambien si mun a am si contract ñu dissolve Adama Barrow pour mu mun a am lu mu and lii moo indi njuuj njaaj bu nekk si men di OIC projects incompetence bi tey ku jiite kuréeli ay OIC projects yi ban background la xam dem nañ check ko amul anything proven track record ne war na moo mën a foofu tey ku toppa si moom suñ brother Essa Bukar si amut any competence boo xam ne méccoo naa mais méngoo naa foo xam ne tey fa la toog now soo amee loolu in place lan nga expect dafa teg ñoo xam ne dañoo def lu mu bugga waaye biñ def loo xam ne Gambien moom lañ bugga tey moo tax problème si ñu ko am but problème yooyu amul foofu another Ramadan activism lu ma bind lu ma set soo leen fàtte la ko moo tax ñu ne we are vindicated bu Mohamed Manyang social security buñ ne dañ koo génne transfer ci civil service di foreign service loolu tax moom mu resign ñun waxoon nañ ne soo gisee Adama Barrow di ko transfer di njuuj njaaj yoo xam ne mu ngi ko bëgg a def social security te Mohamed Manyang nangu te benn si njuuj njaaj yooyu te gis nga ne du benn ñëw benn ñaar feeñagum waaye bii boo xam ne ñëpp ñun xamoon nañ ne president's office ak TK Motors ñoo bëgg a dugal seen deal ñu ne pour import 150 bus pour GSTC ñooy compagnie boo xam ne ñoo fa nekkal fu GPTC nekkoon léegi du GPTC di def ñoom ñoo ko dee def laaj leen seen bopp laata GPTC daam mooy bu Yaya Jammeh jëlee dugal loxoom GPTC di tànn ñu faa tegu ñu fa de togu di jël seen boss si di dugal seen business tax na bi GPTC daanu woon léegi buñ ñëwee ekkatiwaat ko teg ko si kaw lan ñu ne social security moom ko pour jël xaalisi pensionnés yi dugal ko fa invest ko pour mun see am dara waaye tam pour mun a dimbale nit ñi liggéeykat yi ñu mun a dem di liggéey ak ñu dox seen soxla yi ñu mun koo def loolu tax ñu teg ko léegi ñoom Adama Barrow ak Tariq Musa Tické Motos ñu buggoon pour mun a am sàccookaay léegi ñoom ñu propose déglu leen ma de GSTC laajte woon ne dañ bugg a 150 bosses ñoom waxtu bu ñoo laajte jamono jooju rek about 50 bosses GSTC indi nañ 50 bosses ñu yuy daw dem Sénégal ak yuy daw beneen place loolu mooy ne buñ xoolee seen business nu moo doxee ak nuñ ko mënee luñ mën a handle seen capacité ñu ne nit nañ 50 bosses ñu indi 50 bosses léegi lan la indi 150 bosses not ñoom laajte wuñ ko mënuñ ko du wow ñoom laajte wuñ waaye president's office ñoo la ne dañ bugg a ngeen order 150 bosses just imagine that now the is political pour ñu ne lan pour ñu ne wane lu Adama Barrow di def liggéey ñu pour elections du loolu rek de atam lu ñoo sàcc foog ñu jaayante jëndante pour mun a sàcc duñ dee dem si kees bi rek sàcc ko dañoo jaayante jëndante pour mun a sàcc loolu luñ def mooy léegi ñu wax ko buñ ko waxee ñun ñu jot si ñu génn expose ko buñ ko exposé luñ def ñu noppi ñu foog ne fàtte nañ ñu dem si ron ñoom membre Njaay demaat si ron defaraat yoon bu ñoo jaar léegi ñu ne naka social security buñ joxe xaalis dañ njëkkoon a bëgg a jël social security joxe xaalis dina ko dañ ne bu social security joxe xaalis dina ko waaye na social security garanti gis nga garanti lañu wax di same thing la ñoo def garanti lan la social security garanti mooy pour ñoom ñu mun a dem jox business bi to company si ñu dem indi boss si léegi su nekkee ne moo ñoom bon mënuñoo fay lan mooy xew social security ñooy ñaata nit social security ñoo ko fay ñoo ko garanti the same thing lañ defaat rek in a different way because social security def nañ lu ñu war a def 50 bosses jëndal nañ ko ne lii lañ xool ne business sense mig na ko investment bi is safe mën nañoo manage léegi suñ amee suñ xaalis dañ ñu yokkaat waaye amaguñ suñ xaalis ngeen bëgg ñu yokk beneen 150 bosses do you know how many $1 million that is 150 bosses xam ngeen ne we don't see the details bu leen fàtte ne lu bosses rek la ñoo jënd bosses yi dafa under contract of servicing and spare parts kan mooy make xaalis we look at that léegi ñu def loolu ñu ne loolu am léegi lan lañ def ñu ne dañ def open bid xam nga léegi ñu ngi mel ni ñu ngi def yëpp yoon bu njëkk ba dañ woon a jël rek jox ko Tariq Musa léegi ñu ne dañoo def yëpp yoon ngeen xool lu fi xew léegi ñu ne ñu ubbi pour ñu def bid break wall bu nekk Gambia bokk nañ ci bid bi espace koo xam ne Mohamed Jamoo ko moom bokk na ci bid bi Tické Motos bokk nañ ci bid bi there are two other companies foreign companies bokk nañ ci bid bi beneen fana Chinese la and so two companies bokk nañ ci bid bi but ñun xam nañ lu ñu óor bid bi tapale la loolu lañ def dañ ko tapale pour jox ko ñaari nit ñu ko bëgg a def mooy Mohamed Ja ak Tické Motos léegi jël nañ contrat bi jox nañ ko Mohamed Ja ak Tické Motos waaye ba tey ñun ñu ngi jéem a final contrat bi si boppam lan la lu ñu si óor mooy ne contrat bi jox nañ ko ñaar ñu ne ñoo biir contrat bi léegi ñoo war a provide 150 bosses ñu fay leen in 7 years pour GTSC fay leen 7 years soo déggee loolu yëpp da nga ne lii lu baax la di lii war naa def dañ leen a lebal 7 years ñu fay ko ñoom ñu dawal boss si suñ paree di liggéey di leen fay lu baax la nañ egg si foofu 7 years léegi Mohamed Dia amul problème bi daal raise na finance lig lan Mohamed Dia technically muy am banque then moom kaadoom yomb na pour mu dem si banque bi ne dugal leen si lii ñu dugal si am na bosom TK Motors Tariq Moussa moo leen a wan ne ñii amuñ xaalis suñu alal lañ dee nekkee Tariq Moussa paroon naa def deal bi su nekkoon ne social sécurité ñoo leen fay waaye léegi social sécurité garantie la ñoo def léegi jël na garantie boobu FI bi banque bu nekk Gambie dem na fa ñooñu ñu ngi xalaat affaire yi dig lan jaane commission bi rôle bu banque si play wax nañ ko si jaane report si waaye xam nga Mohamed Dia daanaka banque am la faalewul luy dal Gambien si faalewul Gambie xaalis si Gambien si fu moo dem moom alal bu moo meeg si turi Mohamed Dia moom la tal not about Gambie Mohamed Dia alal bu moo meeg la tal TK Motors bu mu demee FI bi xal nañoo defin not ne duñ jot seen xaalis but ñu ngi xalaat ne ñu tollu si elections naka la ñoo def su nekkee ne ñëwaat nañ beneen commission di téye suñu ba Ecobank ñu ngi am di same problème ñu ngi ko xalaataat mooy TK Motors fu mu ne nii amut xaalis bi mu ngi xalaat Dubai investment am nañ information ne mu ngi xalaat Dubai investment pour ñu invest in it pour mu mun a def bosses mooy wane again the relationship bu business yi dee am ak di ñu not waaye suñ paree sampa jumaa yi sampa jaaka yi di ñu ne ñoo dañoo saraxee dañoo daxa saraxee bon fekk alali nit ñi yéen loolu ngeen not su Adama Barrow rek du mun a sàcc dañ ko jàppale ñu sàcc ñu ko jàppale mooy ñooñu liggéey moom ak ñu nangu sàcc ñu dem business ak moom léegi loolu lañ def Adama Barrow am na kickback sam am nañ seen lifin ak ñu ko wóor am nañ seen waala pour business bi mun a def bon nekkul interest si Gambie lan la tax nekkul interest si Gambie naa si ñëw wane na ne soo gisee TK Motors am problème yi génnee xaalis am na lu si ñaaw but léegi nañ leen laaj suñu bopp lan la tax benn Suwareh am problème or some people am problem with this project 150 bosses organisation bu nekk da nga am structures da nga am capacity da nga am sa operations structure bu nekk GSTC amuñ the capacity to consume 150 buses. One, already, when fleet you get deal with that. That means that in 150 buses, then you want to expand, restructure sell or in the operational cost. The new operational cost mooy loo xam ne dépense booy def dépense boobu mu ngi affect sa profits in 7 years bu leen fàtte ne leb bi la fa ànd ak interest mu ngi operational cost bi dafa dem up so operational cost bi demee profit bi dafa margin dafa dem dip already then yaa ngi am pour repay yaa ngi am pour fay bor bi soo ko fay dafa am penalties dañoo ooyee lu ñoo teg si kaw penalties su nekkee nag GPTS mënuñ koo fay social security fay ko si xaalisi pensions that's not right. Two, not only operational cost because of your input expansion structures in order to consume in these 150 buses at the same time. Two, now operations. Now need the capacity, now need operations. Operations be if I need more efficient, efficient in a sense. More in a manner behind the profit that they eat. Then you want to profit. But none of them are problem. Leakages in a sense in all of my sena dafa am sena yu si nekk tey ñu nekk xam ne nekk yu fi tuumalante weeru ko lañ nekk tuumalante ñu xam ne tey soo tegee boss I mean naka GPTC GSTC candidat nga ne boss dafa am pour daw Banjul Brikama lan lañ koo dawee ticket bi is not efficient ñooñu di print ticket bi ñooy print yeneen ticket just example maa ngi xaar ma just show you this maa ngi xaar di more information on it but am na ku ma seen gis nga ticket boo xam ne ñu ko jox airport bu mu dugg see airport fay $1,000 ñu ngi ko jox ticket boo xam ne date bi mu ngi 2020 kooku mu ngi travel in Gambia in February 2021 ticket buñ ko jox is 23rd November 2020 how can that be happening how can that be happening leakages ticket yi is not efficient one dinañ print ay ticket two su dee conductor su dee driver dinañ lekk leakages dafa bari mu ngi affect sa profits three maintenance vehicles yi ndax due diligence bu ñu war def pour maintenance at yëpp is another thing routes yi are profitable but ndax efficient transportation mun na am the risk is too much risk is too much already DPTC ñu ngi GSTC ñu ngi expand nanka gradually soo toogee rek explode loolu ngaa indi risk ngaa indi si company bi mooy wane lu ñoo jéem a indi lu ñoo jéem a indi ne it's about politics it's about ne pour Adama Barrow pour mun a wax ne indi na ay bosses léegi ñu ngi nii dëkk bi am na bosses déedéet Adama Barrow loolu du liggéeyam lu mu war a liggéey mooy make sure the right people are in the right place ñooñu jël décision yi base lu gën si réew mi GSTC kenn waru leen a jox presidential orders ne leen ne ñoom benn ñu ngi indi moto jënd leen déedéet ñoo war toog seet ne lan lañ soxla yan façon yi moto lañ soxla lan lañ fi kañ lañ ko soxla naka lañ ko soxla lan la ñoo def léegi ñun suñ ñu ngi jéem a build suñ business naka la ñoo def pour make sure ne suñ revenue yokk nañ ko efficiently not ne yokk nañ ko dañoo dem ne léegi dañoo yokk from $5 to $6 déedéet $5 ba tey bu ñoo feeku naka la ñoo make sure suñ revenue bi yokku na in a sense mooy ne wàññi nañ ñu dee ñàkk a fay pass tey dem leen si féere bi tey ñu dugg si féere bi yëpp ngeen xool ñaata nit ñoo fay xaalis boo xam ne mu ngi dem si compagnie féere bi ëppa doole bi mu ngi dem si ay nit and different level nag duñ tuumal ñu nekk si bunta bi rek ngeen nañ tuumal ñu bari because of different level laa nekk moo tax ma ne this is the problems we have moo tax ñu war a wax because these people lan lañ am in common moo tax ma bugg a daaxa wax boo xam ne waaw dañoo naka blame businesses yi dañoo blame government njëkka lan tax ñuy blame government njëkka conducive environment government moo war create a conducive environment people ñuy wax price control mënut a am because of dañ dëkka in a liberal economy Gambia is a liberalized economy price control mënut a am te price control tam solve benn problème market bi mooy control boppam problème bu ñu am mooy ne the market is distorted mooy lu ma miin mooy ne Adama Barrow depuis bu mu ñëwee dafa indi ay jëfin yoo xam ne dafa tax be am ñoo xam ne ñoo amee market bi ñoo ko dominer create lu ñoo ay monopole ñooy monopolize market bi amoon na jamono Jawara te bokkoon na si lu daaneel Jawara te am few people ñooy import ciment ñooy import tomate ñooy import maalo ñooy import sukkur ñooy import korget ñu create a monopoly ñu door di yokk seen price to the extent of amoon na jamono am importers ñu la dee ne soo fayut CFA duñ la jaay amoon na Gambie jamono Jawara those people those businessmen ñoo nekkoon the patrons of the PPP ñoo doon ne ooye businessmen yoo xam ne ñooy support PPP gis nga ne supportuñ PPP bugguñ Jawara bugguñ PPP supportuñ PPP pour ñu defal Gambia pour seen bopp moo tax man leen ne suñ buggee wéy ci réew mi dañoo make sure suñ nit ñi understand political parties yi luñ taxawal any political party buy wax da ngaa wax lu set lu def lu set loo xam ne moo ñooy njëriñ ñun ñu mën a am lifi but pour ne benn soirée mi ngay wax on behalf of party dama war a topp parti bi déedéet dama war a xam lu benn soirée di wax ak lu xew si réew mi this business people tey ñoo taxawal Adama Barrow def yëpp moo tax Adama Barrow di wax bu leen blame maa ngi wax importance yi waxuma ñu nekk si suuf di jaayante jëndante naa leen wax luy xew ñu ngi am monopoly ñoom ñooy import major cement ñooy import sukur ñooy import all these big things but gis nga corruption su starté daf lay wàcca léegi corruption boobu and in tax na ba tey ñu ngi am ports MD ma ne yi ndaay global mu ngi ko yor now ports is mismanaged corruption bi bu rëy na waaye tam ñàkk compétence effectiveness of port bi amut port bi nu mu war a operated noonu is not effective maa ngi waxaat nit démb koo xam ne dafay importé dafay jëlee containers from UK dina balaa Adama Barrow di ñëw mu ngi doon gaa doon fay about 1,600 something like that for a container fu mu ne ñu ngi fay 2,600 £1,000 more £1,000 more do you know how because of the inefficiency of the ports of Banjul now ñoom seen gaal su egsee Gambia gaal yi suñu egsee Gambia dañoo xaar dañoo nekk foofu di xaar te gaal yi seen turnaround la faa cost suñ toogee any day buñ nekk si port boobu ñu ngi di xaar ñu ngi fay seen liggéeykat yi ñu ngi taal seen essence ak yooyu then ñu amee container yi Gambia foofu dañ am pour pay for that mu ngi tax seen cost dem seen cost boobu dañ ko dafa wàcce si seen jaayante jëndante port bi si boppam suñ ñëwee ba wàccee container bi wàcce na mu si port bi but mënuñ koo jot te guddi bu mu fa fanaan dafa am ñoom dañoo am pour fay loolu li ko cause mënuloo clear sa container in time not ne mu bëgguloo ko clear but système bi baaxut inefficiency of the port ngeen cost nit ñi tax prices di dem up Gambien yu taxaw di blame ne waaw blame leen jaaykat yi naka ngay jaayee tanki ganaar 10,000 whatever 100 200 300 400 laaj leen seen boppa this government bu ñëwee ban investment nañ def in agriculture tax scandal upon scandal the permanent secretary of agriculture kuñ téye into scandal of fertilizer ñu war koo daaxa because of jabaram mooy mobilisal Adama Barrow tey lan la def delloowaat nañ ko agriculture daaxuñ ko arrestuñ ko charge ko te justice bi investigation bi dañ dem ba determine ne dañ ko war a charge kenn charge ko corruption bi Adama Barrow now ganaar su Gambia mënut a toog am enough ganaar then we have a problem that kooku mënut a transform that country mënuloo transform ni ñi am enough ganaar lana tax depuis bu Adama Barrow ñëwee 5 years ñu si 5th year ana agriculture policy maalo mënuñ koo am ganaar tam mënuñ koo am lana tax created a conducive environment waxuma Adama Barrow béykat naka yar ay ganaar conducive environment policy of what nga xool from any aspect of lan la naka ñuy naka ganaar ñu dee yar ganaar ooy luñ leen ni feed animal feed naka la government di make sure ne animal feed is affordable dafa am priorities naka la ñoo def pour make sure ne organize nañ youths empower the youths Gambians yi gis ngeen lot of Gambians ñu am politics lots of Gambians civil servants Gambians ñu jógee si diaspora Gambians ñu dëkk si réew mi everybody mu ngi try to do something but it's expensive to rear them to feed and other things that comes lan nga def chain bi lan nga def government loolu la war a am defuñ ko suñ jëni is a typical example lana tax ñuy am fish meal factories Gambien si mënuñoo am jën bu ñoo lekk bon dunda bi su seeree at yëpp government la ñoo foofu wat nañ ñëwaat de dañ am lu ma bañ mooy ne waa loo xam ne si dëkk bi lañ ko béy people have to understand the cost of transaction Gambia government ñu ngi yokki pétrole essence yokk nañ ko essence soo ko yokkee lu nekk ay war a yokk dafa affect lu nekk te amuñ any reason to justify yokk essence lu ñu yokk tax la tax xaalis bi fu moo dem yaa ngi tax nit ñi xaalis bi fu moo dem loolu lañ war a jàm te alal bu Adama Barrow leb yëpp lu mu leb in 4 years is equal to 22 years of Yaya Jammeh lu mu leb fan la dem tey su ma amee suma farm or suma I mean taal suma generator because of electricity critical industry critical infrastructure si sax mënut a dem tey suma taalee generator it cost me more because of petrol bu yokk I have to pass that cost to make a profit business profit and other things but because of lii dañ ko liggéeyee si réew mi warut a seer du dëgga it's not been subsidized by the government lu ko determine mooy transaction ci borom di dem lan tax ñu bugg a suñ jigéen ñi suñ demee ëpp doole bi moom naa wax jigéen ñi bu ko ëpp doole bi ñooy béy njéef yi suñ demee béy ba soona si ñoom tey suñ demee di rent seen rent mu ngi seer seen transport mu ngi seer seen school yi doom mu ngi seer seen every transaction mu ngi seer booy léegi ñoom commodity bii lañ am ñu ne déedéet bu leen ko jaay lu seer yéen amu leen right pour jaay ko bu seer because yéen da ngeen daan seen doole si réew mi fii ngeen defar ko ngeen am ko si réew mi fii seen sport seer su government bugut mu seer dañ war a make sure suñ jigéen ñuy béy lu ñoo béy ak lu ñoo def yëpp dañ am enough subsidies nga xam ne dinañ mën a jaay loo xam ne dinañ ci mën a am lu yelloo that's fine su government buggee loolu dañ mën a make sure seen environment you create leen the housing create leen the school system make sure the hospitals duñ fay or nañ am suñ feebaree nañ am fay those are things that government should do government def ko electricity water dox coono la hospitals doxut schools doxut ani ku bugga lu gën sa njaboot di nga am pour fay extra pour am ko su ne mu ngi private mu ngi public school sax da nga am pour fay kuy study su nekkee ne moom béykat yi jaxatu la fa nga expecté mu am profit pour fay doomam bi pour mu study waaye yow mun ngaa fayal sa doom bi pour mu study nga am pour complain about that these are things we have to decide we cannot blame the people for that we have to blame government for that and another thing about economy the last budget ngeen baalal ma figure si jàppaatuma ko but ñëpp xam nañ ne budget bi mu ngi dem moo ëpp budget bu ñu sax am Gambia si lan Adama Barrow dañ decide pour jël priority ñu ne dañoo samp ay tali dañoo samp ay marché ñun wax nañ ne samp marché tali ayut lu baax la but dafa am priority yi ñu war a am luñ def sàcc nañ agriculture sàcc nañ yëpp léegi ba tey ñu ngi am pour mun a leb xaalis ñu dem leb xaalis boo xam ne moo nekk si réew mi nekkul xaalis mënuñoo leb xaalis bi bu nekk si réew mi circulation money bu war a circulate ñu dem leb boobu dem projet su du jeex léegi ñu ne pour lan pour seen political projects ay tali ak yooyu pour ñu liggéey nañ pour ñu sànni Adama Barrow di interest should be ndax lu moo benefit réew mi the national interest lañ war a xool luy benefit réew mi di greater good lañ war a xool not Adama Barrow lu ko elections that's lu mooy wax moom laa ne politicians yi loolu lañ dee xalaat luy change the guards not luy change the conditions Adama Barrow dem leb xaalis bi yëpp millions of dollars billions of dollars defuñ ko si areas yoo xam ne moom lañ ko def defuñ ko si hospitals pour faj bi di mun a am suñ noos yi am luñ yelloo suñ teachers yi am luñ yelloo defuñ ko in schools defuñ ko in agriculture productive bu ñoo dem jël millions and millions yooyu di ko jënda ay maalo ne dañ koo may nit ñi ci sàcc ko ñoom neen sàcc seen maalo ñu jënd jëluñ loolu ni kon tey góob nañ maalo bu dul jeex suñ jëloon alal boobu jugal ko invest ko si béykat yi góob nañ maalo bu dul jeex tey ak feneen bari na luñ mën a defuñ ko luñ def rek naka la ñoo amee xaalis ñu see amee xaalis ñu ko amee xaalis tey dañ toog liquidity amut si market bi ñoom seen boppa ñu ngi seet naka la ñoo amee moo xaalis moo tax ñu yokk tax ñu ngi yokk tax yi again am loolu mu ngi affect nit ñi bon problème bi yëpp we cannot talk to blame nit ñi but we have to blame the government because of ndaw ñoo xam ne sax ñu ngi nekkee loo xam ne ñun neexuñu amul benn njaboot bu bëgg a gis sa doom mel ñu suñ yeneen njaboot mel non but lan la ñoo def as ay kilifa ay borom njaboot mooy try to change them then is this government responsibility to try to do something to invest in these youths to change them to invest in society in the people to bring about change are they doing that no pour ñoom affected leen seen du seen doom even though seen jarbaat lañ waaye du seen doom this is the concept mindset bu ñu am léegi ku nekk sa bopp moo tax maay ne fu ma daanelee wax bi rek gudda na buggumoon mu guddee nii sax waaye waxtaani weeri koor bi lan la again ne activism nekkul lu ñaaw ba tax weeri koor jot dañ koo bàyyi dëgg la am na ñoo xam ne dañ foog ne seen spirituality feneen lañ ko mun a amee waaye ñun gëm nañ ne tam ñun lii suñ spirituality fii lañ ko def definitely yàlla it's not about them like Arab somewhere or like them def other things yeah some people believe that am na ñoo xam ne dañ feel ne dañ am pour silence and julli yu du jeex some people believe that but other people will believe something different. We still need to advocate. We still need to speak to people. We need to try to be, in this that change to happen. Because ñu bari nekkuñ di julli ñu bari nekkuñ di or ñu bari nekkuñ di ñu ngi tagaalo seen sago ñu bari ñu ngi rente ñu bari ñu because of the change amul moo tax mu important and when correct it's not for that it should be continuous good things are continuous but yaxakat yi ne taxawuñ xamuñ weeru koor dañu foog ne dañ ci seen file si ne waa xaaral after weeru koor non amuñ xoli yërmande empathy nekku fa seen kër yuñ toog ñu ngi xool evidence of sàcc seen yu ñuy sol ñu ngi gis evidence of sàcc seen yaram yi sax ñu ngi gis evidence of sàcc seen jabar yi ñu ngi gis evidence of sàcc but some of these people seen jabar yi taxuñ leen because of dañ ko yelloo evidence sàcc bi ñu def moo tax ñu mun a teg jabar yuñ teg respect bu ñu am seen njaboot sax not ne seen jukko moo tax seen njaboot yi respect leen but because of luñ affordal seen njaboot moo tax bis bu loolu taxawee nga gis disrespect bu lañ seen njaboot dee disrespect bon lu nekk dañ ko dee jënd si alali say ba pare suñ génnee di dem si jumaa yi jàkka yi di yóbbu waxuma ñëpp waxuma ne ñëpp mais ngeen baal ma waxuma ñëpp ñu dee yóbbu ndogu oo li fi ñoo ko def waaye ëpp doole ñuy sàcc ñun xam nañ leen gis nañ evidence bi dund nañoo ñoom di sàcc alal réew di jaay ne may mën a di samp ay juma samp ay jàkk wala ñeneen samp seen tool yi waaye Gambia lu ëpp xam nañ leen ñun la ñun muslim ñoo amee place yi ñoo ëpp fu nekk di dem si fu daayira yi am di joxe lu du jeex di def lu nekk the same thing si ñemee fu ñëw woyaan ñu def the same thing di jaay jomba ñaaw or everything we is us ñun jullit yi la o ñuy oyse boppa jullit ñuy dem di fekk nit ñi si bunti jumaa yi di ñaan di salatu ñu jël pride on for nation good deeds alal boo xam ne danga ko sàcc discourage ma la nga mee ko de na ñooñu bénéfice famille waaye yow doo si bénéfice amuloo si dara but booy wane di heartlessness bu ñu am te suñ fogee ne these people would relent because of where color they don't care amuñ empathy xalaatuñ waaye nag su nekkee ne lu ñoo oote si ñun den nañoon xool suñu bopp bala ñoo wax ne diw rey nga ñaari nit yow ñaata nit nga rey diw xaalis boo leen waa fay tax fay nañ ko tax mu dem si hospital si dem si lopitaan yi dem si jàngu yi dem si everything ngeen dem di sàcc alal li nguur gi di ko tappale ak yëpp in one way or the other yëpp dafa dellusiwaat si benn dépense bi sàcc la ndax maa ngi tourism laa sàccee déedéet dina affect budget yi how ndax agriculture laa sàccee dina affect the budget health of education and all jërëjëf guys and thank you nañ indoo jàmm and nañ dellusiwaat suñu amatee jot rek ñu ñëw waxtaan ko as I said activism bi du pour du pour just out of work or anything it's just a continuous thing and nekkul ne ñun ñoo gën ñëpp wala ñoo am yëpp but in fact ñun tam we learn every day and all the time and try to improve things and that's how we become better people and we want everybody else to benefit from these things. Thank you very much and have a good day.